So Polycarp Igathe, this is probably the most mentioned name in the last 48 hours. Polycarp Igathe is the CEO of Vivo Energy and subsidiary Shell International. He was on Tuesday named as Mike Sonko's running mate for Nairobi gubernatorial position. The gentleman is here in to tell us why he suddenly has a love for politics. So Polycarp, joining us this morning, and let's start right there. Somebody who's already doing well in the corporate sector and making waves, as it were, in the corporate sector. Why go into politics?
Because politics is too important to be left to politicians.
Wow, okay.
And that's what I've learned in the last 22 years as a corporate executive. Increasingly, when you run business, whether small, medium, or large, that business thrives.
Based on the political environment.
First, because of the managerial competence of the firm, but there's also a second engine of business and jobs, because the purpose of business is to create jobs and to make profits, is the ecosystem. The ecosystem is owned by politicians. So I realized after 22 years, rising from I've been a consumer goods salesman all my life, rising from that to becoming CEO of perhaps the largest company in Kenya in turnover terms, Vivo Energy, then it was like, I've done it. But now I need to go to public service.
Being in the corporate sector and being in such a senior role and position, you're still able to make decisions and waves and create impact. You don't necessarily have to become a politician. Or do you see it differently?
I see it completely differently. I think the calling to public office is a calling to serve. Unfortunately, the eyes most of us wear is the eyes of jobs, natafuta cheo. I'm not moving here to look for a job. I'm moving here to look for responsibility, wajibu. I'm coming here to look for some level of responsibility and service. And I've been involved in public service right through my private sector career, although it's been very quiet. And I'm really honored to have been invited and interviewed by somebody of political gravitas as the Honorable His Excellency Mike Sonko, who's been my friend for years. And many people asking me, where did you get to know how you and Sonko...
Well, and maybe that's the question you should answer. How did you and Sonko hook up? Because, of course, I mean, he is well-known. You are also well-known, but in completely different circles.
Now, let me tell you, I have sold Coca-Cola in every street in Nairobi. I've been
as a salesman.
As a salesman, driving a pickup. Many people, perhaps in your audience, even remember me in those days as we did that in the late 90s, mid 90s. I've sold big biro pens. I've sold shampoos in salons in this country as a sales and marketing manager and MD at Hako. I have sold beer all over the country and did a lot of campaigns when I was marketing manager of Pilsner, when I was sales operations manager at East African Breweries. So I'm a man going right through the chain. I've come from the street, actually. So we bumped into each other several years ago, and I started to admire his type of politics, because he was gate-crashing a scene where he was saying there are people who are not being recognized. There are people who are getting left behind. And he's clearly come on stage, and he's a very, very popular politician, not just in Kenya, not just in Nairobi, but across the whole country. And I said, since I've done my corporate career till where I am, why not learn from the best once I want to move into public office?
Now, what makes you think that Sonko is the best? On what grounds? And I'll tell you why I asked that question. Because looking at your environment of operation, it's corporate, very professional. Many may beg to differ with Sonko's ways of working, given that you'd call it somehow streetwise, as it were. So how do the two connect?
You know, Sonko's journey and my journey are very similar. Just different channels, but we've ended up at the same level. I think when you look at his... Sonko is popular because he really resonates with the needs
of the people.
And clearly he resonates with the needs of the people. It says there's been a disconnect between policy and the needs of the people. And that's why he's so popular. If I'm not wrong, he got the third largest number of votes in the last elections. And right there, you can't argue with
the numbers.
You can't, as they say in politics, you can't argue with the ground. Yeah, you really, and even in business, that's why we are common. You can't argue with the customer. So business and politics in that way are adjacent categories.
But the difference here being, Polycarp, when you're coming from a very corporate environment, you look at systems, putting systems in place that work, not individuals. With Sonko's style, it seems more of individuals. You look at his rescue team, it's more of tied to him. Without him, that whole system crumbles. So how do you link the two where you have a system-based person like yourself? Because in corporate sector, it's not about Polycarp. It's the systems that you're able to put in place that work. Now, when we're looking at Nairobi as a corporate environment, it is the systems. But when we look at Sonko, yes, he resonates with the people, but that could be as a result of him being able to take care of those needs from an individual capacity, as opposed to systems that are taking care of the place.
No, I really welcome that question. And he's taking care of those things from an individual capacity because the system has broken. And there goes our partnership. Igathe, Sonko na Igathe, because he understands what the people need. And I back up because I come from a systemic thinking office organization. So that's our partnership. That's why we are saying Sonko na Igathe will deliver this because he understands the political mobilization, understanding the needs, and he is the boss. I am the office worker organizing City Hall.
You're the foot soldier, as it were.
I'm the foot soldier, and he goes out to make sure that the plans we write out, that our manifesto is being fulfilled in every constituency, in every county assembly ward, that we have the backing of every MCA, that we work in a united way as a party. And I myself then bring the systems, the structure, make sure that the cabinet is flowing, things are working in the office, bring in the international investors, make sure that their agenda is also aligned to the people of Nairobi's agenda, and indeed the people of Kenya's agenda. You know, Nairobi is 60% of Kenya's GDP. It's not a joke. Hapana mchezo. It cannot be left in the hands of people who either who necessarily don't have the bandwidth. You know what I mean by bandwidth? Mm-hmm. You know, when you try
to... You don't have the capacity and the volume
you can't, you know, bandwidth. The Wi-Fi is just not working. So
it's hanging.
So it's hanging big time. So Igathe and Sonko are going to reboot this Wi-Fi.
And that brings me to one of the tweets that you tweeted recently, where you said that Nairobi cannot be left in the hands of the clueless. What did you mean by that?
I think I meant...
Are you referring to Kidero? Or are you referring maybe to your boss also being clueless that we need you now?
No, absolutely not. I was referring to the whole organization responsible for managing Nairobi today. If you look at Nairobi today, there seems to be people who are not asking themselves a simple question, yeah? That what are we not doing right, yeah? And in my career in corporate, I've learned two very important things. In every organization, when you walk in, there are two things you look at. How have people performed? How have people behaved? Because there are people who perform very well in their jobs or in their responsibilities, but they behave very badly. Now, that's not good. Then there are others who behave very well, but they perform very badly. That's also not good. You want people performing well and behaving and behaving well. But then what has happened in my own assessment, when I say clueless, we have people performing badly, people behaving badly. And that's why our wonderful constitution and the nature of politics, and that's what attracts me, it says every 5 years, reboot the system, reboot the hardware, reboot the software. So the Igathe and Sonko's ticket, the Sonko-Igathe ticket, is to reboot the software of Nairobi, the hardware of Nairobi, and we are very, very grateful with how we have been received. Okay. The expectations are high.
I'm not sure what you mean when you say behaving badly, but would Sonko come under the category of behaving badly, in your opinion?
In office, no. How does he behave badly? Go back to the question. Somebody who gets over 800,000 votes, is that bad behavior? It tells you there's something those people are saying. You cannot call a complaint of frustrations boiling over bad behavior.
Bad behavior.
That is just somebody saying, listen to me. Because I've tried to write to you, I've tried to sing to you.
And you don't seem to be dancing to the tune.
Listen to me.
All right, now let's move this conversation on. In Nairobi, Governor Evans Kidero is closely monitoring Mike Sonko's political maneuvers. When the senator picked Polycarp Igathe as his running mate, Kidero had this to say.
I was really disturbed and bothered. The Jubilee team, they came with Liwe Liwalo. I even had it being repeated yesterday. inyeshe ifanye nini, wataichukua. But they've tried many projects which have been croppers. They started with Eugene Wamalwa, did not take off. Then they came with another project of Peter Kenneth. That also did not take off. Let me just add, this is Team E, Evans, Edwin, Esther. The other one is Team S.
All right, so he's referring to you as a project. Your comments to that. And the truth of the matter is, as much as you may not want to get into politics, it is a political position. And as a result, sometimes you'll have to respond politically.
Let me first of all say, Evans is a friend of mine. We have known each other for very many years in the corporate scene. Friendship is one thing, politics is the other. Now let's talk the politics. Let's leave the friendship aside. I think I'm nobody's project. I'm a project, I'm a leap of faith. I'm somebody who's been to corporate, and in the words of Nelson Mandela in his book, Long Walk from Freedom, you climb one mountain, you get to the top, then you realize there's another mountain to climb. So I've decided to climb another mountain on the political side. And our campaign is really not about our competitors. Our campaign is about the dream we have for Nairobi. To, turn it into a thing of beauty. Make it clean and bright. Make it lush and green. Make it livable and hospitable. Make it safe and secure. Those 4 massive programs, backed by projects which we back up, are things we want to do. Get a city where you're collecting revenue and using revenue for the right resources. Get a city where small, medium businesses don't feel like they are hated, they are chased away every day. Where suppliers, if you look, in a business there are 2 things, and in government there are also 2 cycles. It's like a bicycle. There's one wheel I call procure to pay wheel, where you procure things to offer services to the residents. Then there's another wheel of the bicycle I call order to cash, where you generate revenue that then you use to do this. These things are broken. This bicycle is not moving. Both wheels are off.
The wheels are not in sync.
So that's why I'm saying my good friend Evans is riding a bicycle without wheels, and we want to ask Nairobians to give him time to step aside so that we can come in and do that job. And politics is not enmity. This Nairobi is Kenya. This region is actually the face of Nairobi represents the face of Kenya. So our contest is actually going to be about issues, not so much projects. But let me also close with addressing this issue of projects. There is a belief in this country that anybody who comes to the big stage has a sponsor. There is a belief that this country is under elite capture. Now, my candidature with Sonko is actually to remove that perception. Because it's not under elite capture.
And that would now lead me to the next question. There is, of course, on social media, all sorts of things being said, but there was also a notion that there is a very close tie between you and Chris Kirubi, and at some point, there was also rumor that he was going to be one of those who are going to be part of Sonko's team, and as a result, maybe this is a way of sneaking him in. Your comments to that?
Well, I've worked with Chris Kirubi for very many years, for over a decade at Hako Industries. And actually, for members of the media who were yesterday at a cocktail we were of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, it's very clear. Chris is not my father. People could not believe that I could turn around a business and work so diligently and honestly if I was not Chris Kirubi's father. Because in Kenya, you only work like that if it's your business.
If it's your business.
And I'm telling a lot of young people, don't listen to that negative drumbeat. Work hard. You can be me. I started out in Athi River Primary School, in St. George's Primary School in Roiro, went to Athi River Primary School, went to Nkobo High School, went to the University of Nairobi, and I have gotten myself to where I am through hard work. 20 years, by the way. So I'm also telling young people out there, time is your friend.
It's possible.
Time is not your enemy. And ignore these people who tell you must have a hookup.
So he's not your father? Just to
no, he's absolutely not.
Okay. All right. I'm sure by the time now Sonko approached you, or whoever it is that approached you to take up this position of deputy governor, should you make it, and if you're elected, you must have talked about maybe your plan for Nairobi. What's the plan that you have for Nairobi?
It's to make it a thing of beauty. To restore Nairobi. To restore Nairobi to its glory of green city in the sun. To restore this great metropolis, which is the gate into our country, into what it's supposed to do. First of all, just clean it up. Let me give you a statistic that makes me be very critical of the current administration. Right now, 50% of Nairobi is still on pit latrines. Can you believe that? Pit latrines, they're on long drop. A city.
To this day?
To this day. That's why today you've seen the news around cholera, that our city, we have cholera. In fact, I think we have two crises right now, cholera, and I think their salaries are not being paid at City Hall. And we are 8 weeks to an election. So surely, do we need to convince Nairobians that there's need for a change? We are going to go in and make sure that revenue collection is revenue collection, that every shilling we can collect out there, we are collecting. Today, there's a disaster of collection with something called Jumbo Pay. Yeah? There's a lot of revenue leakage. Then when the revenue is collected, the little they collect, then they spend it badly. Yeah? Almost 85% goes to recurrent. The rest is what is left to actually give services to Nairobians. So our issue is to restore the dignity of the Nairobi residents and also to restore the glory of this city. Because you lived in my time, we used to call it javelin. You know, you get onto the bus. If you were living in Buruburu, you could actually tell somebody, wait for me at Kenyatta Hospital at 11, and you know which bus to take. My own son can't believe that there was a bus timetable in Nairobi.
That used to work.
That used to work. So we're not trying to say that, we're not coming to create anything new. It was done. We just have to restore it. And there's somebody who also tried to do it, and he was fired in the last administration. And I think Gakuo, you've got to give credit where it is. He did a very good job, and he continues to be recognized in cleaning the city. Today, you don't even see the cleaners. Even the grass they planted when the Pope was coming is gone. We have to make this place, and when I say lush and green, we have 3 lungs of Nairobi. Otherwise, we'd be sitting under a cloud of carbon. Karura Forest, Dagoretti Forest, the Arboretum. We have to protect these green spaces and make sure we make this place flower festooned and treed in so that we can work with it. If it's not paved, then it's grassed. Those are the kind of policies we are going to come into. How do you come into a city and it looks like you're in Mikoani Kule? You know, we really have to just cleaning up a house. It can't be that hard.
Okay, and therein lies the problem, Polycarp, because all leaders that have come up to take, from the time we had mayors, they have come in and given this really rosy introduction as to why they are the person to do the job. And Nairobi, like you have said, you know, in terms of GDP, is quite high. But when you weigh what has happened and what they have delivered, there's a huge disparity. What is it that makes you think you have the magic, you know, touch, the Midas touch, as they used to call it, that is going to deliver what you're saying, and others have not been able to?
Okay, first of all, let me begin. We have a strong political partnership and strong political leadership led by our President Uhuru Kenyatta and our Deputy President William Ruto, who took a risk of abandoning small parties and created one party. Then I have my boss, Governor Sonko, who understands the needs of Nairobi. Then here I am, and I'm bringing a track record of I've achieved a lot in my career. And let me give you just one example. In October last year, I was appointed chairman of the Special Economic Zones Authority by His Excellency the President. Right now, when he came from China, the deal he signed, the largest deal he signed about a special economic zones in Eldoret, we are the ones who gazetted it. In 9 months, we were able to get a big investor to come into Uasin Gishu in Eldoret and bring almost $2 billion of investment into the country. I've done that in 9 months. I have been chairman of Bishop Gatimu Gandu Girls throughout. It's a national school in Nyeri. Girls come from all over the country. Go and ask the parents of this school, and they're watching us today, what I have done in the last 7 years. I have served them. Building dining halls, sorting out the classrooms, motivating the teachers. Go and see what I have done in Vivo Energy in close 4.5 years. We found a company which was abandoned by an international brand. So we took the brand and became a licensee for it and kept it here. And I found a company where in petrol stations we were number 3. Now we are number 1, and a very strong number 1. We overtook everybody. When I worked in breweries and I was in charge of the Pilsner brand, it was the only time Pilsner overtook Tusker in sales.
So what is the secret?
To be honest with you, I think I'm a Mr. Fix-It. I love to go into places. I like to go into the trenches, and I work with the people, create a teamwork, and I'm egoless. I don't like to take credit for what I do. So that's the part of politics I have to understand, that I have to start learning how to tell people this is what I have done in my past.
To create your track record,
to create
so
your
that they
track
at least have confidence in you. So what would you say is your secret to having achieved all this, and how will that be translated into the political scene? Because unlike the corporate world, where I mentioned earlier, it is systems that run the whole thing, such that if you work the system, then chances are you can predict the result. In politics, it becomes a whole different ballgame, because the systems are all over the place. Then you have points of influence that may not necessarily want to dance to the tune that you're playing. So what is it that you're going to bring on board that will ensure, now, politically speaking, it works?
I think I'm going to bring a fresh outlook. Many people see political office as an opportunity, as an extraction calculus, an opportunity to extract value out of the public pocket into the private pocket. I'm not like that. I didn't come here for money. I'm coming here to serve. If I wanted money, I would have continued to stay.
I believe your salary as deputy governor will be less than what you're probably earning at Vivo.
I think it might be yes. So
and of course, logically, somebody might ask why. Why would you do that?
Because I've generated, in 20 years, I have been careful with my life. I have generated good savings. My wife works. She's a managing director in the corporate sector. So you asked me what has helped us. I think it's prayer, it's hard work, it's discipline. I call it PhD, and luck. I thank God every day. I'm a very thankful and God-fearing person. And I believe He takes care of me. I believe in Psalm 91. He's my refuge and He's my fortress. So even on Sunday, I'm going to pray with my parents where I come from, so that they can send me out onto this new path that I've gone, and they've given me all their blessings, and my wife has given me all the blessings. And I really admire the fact that, for me, I'm really chuffed that there were 11 people who were in consideration by the governor. And the governor found me suitable. He even personally came to the office to give me the news. He walked into Vivo Energy at Laiboni Center and told me, my friend, let's go and serve the Republic of Kenya.
Well, he's an actor. Definitely, I'm sure that went down, and Vivo Energy must have been a buzz. So what are you promising the people of Nairobi, should you and Sonko become the leaders of this city come August 8th? What is it that you're promising the people of Nairobi?
First of all, we are promising an administration that performs and an administration that behaves. An administration that will deliver the glory of the city called Nairobi. An administration that will be aligned to the national agenda. An administration that will unite everybody across a common agenda. Those who vote for that, those who vote for us and those who don't vote for us, because Nairobi is a reflection of this country. We will unite, and we will not leave anyone behind. There's nobody, we can't have 50% of our residents who walk away from home and go back to pit latrines. Things like that we will work. Although we can't fix that in 5 years. Restoration, we will have to chew the cake in chewable bites going forward. And you can expect harmony. I've seen a lot of fights between governors and deputy governors. You've heard who my boss is. And the pecking order is quite
clear.
Is very clear. So this is a partnership, and that's why we are calling it Igathe and Sonko. And in 10 days, we'll be inviting all of you to read our manifesto, to really see the detail, so you can hold us to account on that manifesto. And we will be launching the manifesto, and His Excellency the President will be present and will tell you, keep us honest, keep us honest.
Keep you in check.
Keep us honest, and we know the expectations are high. We will do our best, and God bless us.
All right. Thank you very much, Polycarp Igathe, for coming in this morning and honoring the invite. And we're wishing you all the best. And we're waiting to see that manifesto. You said it's in 10 days. All right. And we certainly will be keeping our eyes on you and holding you to account. And the good thing is that the internet and some of this does not lie. So what you have said is going to be put to question. But there you go. Well, it is.